Students wonder at the beginning of the year, who are these Namungos and why should we care? Perhaps you're wondering the same thing. Who are these fantasy characters with real brain equipment? Well, let's talk about accomplishing things never before accomplished by using parts of the brain never before used. And then let's look at how can these Namungos help us to do just that. Namungos come to every learning circle. Remember, they're fantasy characters with real brain parts. The first Namungo, Baz, short for basal ganglia, stores every rut and habit you've created. The second, Sero, short for serotonin, adds well-being. The third, Plas, short for plasticity, literally rewires your brain with each new act you do. The fourth, WM, short for working memory, holds new facts like a sticky note at the front of your brain while you solve problems. The fifth Namungo, Cort, short for cortisol, raises those dangerous stress levels that can be harmful both for learning and for health. Finally, MIG, short for amygdala, clings to and stores moods, good and bad moods. So, which Namungos will sway your opportunities today? Well, that depends on what you do, because every person who comes to that circle with Namungos in mind. Every brain comes with these parts, lowered in some cases and raised in others. The first thing you can do is to step beyond the familiar. So the basal ganglia is constantly storing rejuvenated ideas rather than ruts. A second thing you can do as a learner is to foster well-being, and serotonin will bring goodwill that literally opens your brain for learning and allows new ideas to flow. The third thing you can do is to challenge new growth opportunities by taking advantage of the plasticity in the human brain, which literally reconfigures, reshapes, and rewires the neuron brain cells, dendrite brain cells, and the brain structure with every new act you do. Plasticity, amazing. The fourth opportunity you could create because of Namungos is to offer new facts in bite-sized pieces, because the working memory is a tiny storage place at the front of the brain that only allows small bits of information there so that you can use and apply them in ways that solve problems. Think of the working memory much like a computer program that you pick up and save something. When you save the next thing, you have lost the thing that you formerly saved. That's the same with the few facts stored in the working memory. The fifth Namungo is easily challenged when you teach tone tactics to disagree well while building goodwill even with those who differ. To do the opposite is to raise the levels of cortisol, and these can become dangerous in that they shut down learning and block opportunities for you to problem solve or think well or make good responses. Finally, the way to take advantage of MIG, the final Namungo, is to support students' emotions, because they will store whatever emotions they use. So helping students and nurturing students to use healthy emotional responses is to literally store those responses in their amygdala so that the next time they run into a similar situation, those responses will surface. Of course, that's true for bad moods as well. Store those, and those will become the knee-jerk reactions when trouble hits. Here are cards my students like to cut out, and they look at these real brain parts in fantasy characters in ways that prompt genuine support for what they do in our learning community. Remember, BAS stands for basal ganglia, SERO stands for serotonin, PLAS stands for the brain's plasticity, WM is short for working memory, CORT short for the dangerous chemical cortisol, and MIG is short for the amygdala. So how did the Namungos then come about if these are real brain parts and the Namungos are fantasy characters? Well, my grandchildren inspired the Namungos through their curiosity about their brains and Nana's attempts to teach them. Oh yes, Hendrik and Frankie and Nana did try to trap Cort, the grumpy one in our brains, in the yard, only to discover that cortisol flees with laughter only, not with force. So the Namungos below are real brain parts in fictitious characters, but they bring huge benefits in any successful learning community. The key is to discover which Namungos will define your learning today. My students like to use these Namungo bookmarks to remind them of Namungos that are alive and well in every learning circle we create. What if today offered finer choices to you? What if brain-based resources could awaken your students' brains? Find free resources to get started at my site, Ellen Weber, Brain-Based Tasks for Upper Grades. Then let me know how else we can support your use of Namungos in class in order to awaken students' brains to the lessons you teach. You'll find many brain-based tasks at this site for pretty much any topic you teach. Please do contact me. Leave a brief positive review if these Namungo materials could help you and your students. I'd be honored to do anything I can to support what you're doing in class. To leave a comment or a question, hit on the Ask a Question to the right of the Rating tab on my TPT site. Follow me there for new neuro discoveries for your students. The site's called Ellen Weber, Brain-Based Tasks for Upper Grades. I hope these materials bring the kind of support that you and your students deserve the best.